What's good, my Phenom family? Hope you're feeling absolutely freaking phenomenal. My name, of course, is Eddie, and guys, today, before we start, I need to give a super huge thank you to everyone who has subscribed on the channel. Guys, we just broke over 3K subs. It's a huge milestone for me. It's a huge milestone for my channel and currently for everyone who has supported me up to this far. I appreciate you guys. You don't understand how much I do, and I really do thank you so much for this incredible opportunity and this very much incredible milestone for the channel. And we will be having more videos coming to you at a much more rapid rate, so stick around for that. All right, so today we're going to be revisiting all of the methods to see which ones work, which ones don't, and which ones that I recommend, and we're going to be ranking them as I go along. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So starting off, we're going to be going with the jewelry method. This is in fact one of my favorite methods, but it is currently an iOS exclusive. So for all my Android users, unfortunately this is not for you, but if you stay tuned, every last method after this is pretty much tailored towards you guys. So this method, as stated in that video, was not found by me. I cannot take the credit for this. This was in fact found by a subscriber. So if you want to check that out, please go check the video description down below or check that little notification right up there to your left. Like all methods, they're very simple to do. This one has a couple moving parts, but I'll try my best to explain it. So if you have a main account you're currently working on trying to get it to a specific goal, I highly don't recommend doing this glitch, because this glitch actually involves you sacrificing your character in order to give the money over to the next life in order to actually pull off this glitch. So I actually recommend saving your current life, starting a new one, aging up, getting a good job, and make as much money as you can. Now, once you've made enough money you feel comfortable with, all you have to do now is simply have a child. Continue to age that child up no more than the age of 17, otherwise the glitch will simply not work. During this time of aging up your child, all you have to do now is simply go into your assets tab, go shopping, and buy the most expensive amount of jewelry that you can. Also, during the process of you aging up your child, don't forget to execute your will and make sure that everything is going over to your child. Also, if you want to avoid paying taxes on just about anything outside of jewelry, I highly recommend you live in a country that doesn't charge any tax. Now, this can consist of countries like Canada, Monaco, and Norway. I highly recommend any of those top three. You will in fact avoid taxes at all costs. So now that you have reached the age of 17, simply just go all the way down and surrender your character's life. Once you have officially done that, all you have to do is continue off as your child. Now, if you look at your bank account, you're gonna notice something extremely interesting. The total valuation of your jewelry is now inside your bank account, but if you go to your assets tab, you currently still own that jewelry. So pretty much in a nutshell, you can continue to do this glitch over and over and over and double and double and double your money. Now, what I failed to mention in that video is the fact that if you're a Bitzarian, you'll have no issue duplicating this over and over again. But if you're not a Bitzarian, unfortunately, this method will only work once for you. So keep that in mind. If you're only going to do this once, if you don't have Bitzarian, then I'd recommend saving up as much money as you can, and also maybe consider becoming super famous first before attempting this glitch, again if you do not have Bitzarian. Now, since we're on the topic of being famous, we can continue on to the next method. Now, since my last video of showing you guys how to become super famous, a lot has changed. So now you actually have the opportunity to become famous on things like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Now, some of you have actually asked me, do I think this makes it harder to become famous because you have so many options? And the short answer is no. In fact, I think it actually increases your chances because now you have more things to post on. I just highly recommend you try to avoid as much as you can on buying subscribers or followers, because this can get your account suspended in this game and the chances of you getting back are kind of low. Now, I'm not going to go into much depth on this particular method only because it's going to take super long to explain all the different ways you can become famous. But what I believe is to be one of the most fastest ways on how you can become famous, the quickest, is becoming a star. And the reasons why I'm not saying it is because this is a PG channel and I would like to keep it that way as much as I can, but you'll most likely be able to see it on the screen right about now. And again, if you want to see more detail, check the link in the description. I go into so much more depth of how to do this at its fastest rate. Now, moving on to our next glitch is one of my personal favorites, and that is the casino method. Now, the basic rules to the casino glitch is that you can play as many games of blackjack as you want, and if you lose, then you just simply close the app, don't continue, close the app, reopen the app, and when you come back, you have lost absolutely nothing. Now, at the time of finding this method, there were absolutely no issues. You can spam this as many times as you want, but pretty much since then, there have been a flurry of updates finally hitting the Android market, which we are super grateful for because we have the opportunity to finally spend the money that we have officially made. But one of the biggest issues is resetting. Now, what I mean by resetting is that pretty much once you spam this too many times, typically when you're going hundreds and hundreds of $1,000,000 in, your account will just reset itself pretty much back to zero, and you would have lost every single thing, every single dollar you own in that particular account that you spam this method on, which is not necessarily the end of the world because I did find a slight way to kind of get around this, but it's not the most practical when you're trying to make a lot of money quickly. Now, my method on how to avoid resetting is simply going to the left tab in the game, making sure that you save your character's life as many times as you pretty much can. I see it as being equivalent to maybe typing a very long paper on your laptop, or in my case, editing a video in Premiere Pro, and for some weird reason, the software or whatever reason your application decides to stop, you lose everything because you simply didn't save. The other main thing that I highly recommend to avoid resetting is simply take breaks. Now, what I mean by take breaks is very simple. If your life's mission is to spam the living heck out of this method, if you're on Android, I highly recommend you just take a moment, calm down, and typically once you hit around 50 million to 100 million and then you go on by 50 or 100 million at a time, just take 5 to 10 minutes out of your time to let the game kind of register all that money being there, and that you're not going to accidentally close it, open it, and come back to absolutely your account being reset and have nothing left to spend. So pro tip is to make sure that you're taking those breaks. Now, before I go on with explaining this, I just want to say that this is in fact an Android exclusive. So Apple, remember, your method was in the beginning. Right now, we're mostly just talking to the Android users. So like I said, with opening and closing the application for the casino method, this actually works for the racetrack as well. Now, once again, specifically, this method was found out by a completely different subscriber. I cannot take the credit for this, so thank you again for showing us this method. Now, basically, it's a bit hard for me to actually recommend this method because it's completely based off of chance versus the casino method where you actually can learn the card patterns and the movements to get higher odds of winning. But for example, with the horse races, if you were to put up, let's say, $10 million and your horse was to actually win, you would be left with $50 million. So this method actually does have a pretty big payout rate, but it is very inconsistent when actually picking the right horse, which is why I actually don't really recommend this method as much. And last but very much not least is the lottery method. But I really can't recommend this one anymore to anyone who's playing. Now, unfortunately, this method did not age well at all. Now, with God mode, you can actually give yourself a whole lot of karma, which allows you to increase your chances of winning the lottery. But one of the main issues is that it's very inconsistent, even more inconsistent than the horse race method. The biggest difference is that if you win the lottery, you have the potential of having such a maximum huge payout. But in my opinion, to spend hours on hours in order to just get a little bit of money versus any of the other methods that would allow you to maximize your gains in a much more shorter period of time, I really can't recommend this lottery method as much over any of the other methods. And again, it just really didn't age well. So basically, in conclusion, what do I personally rank the best methods on making billions and potentially trillions of dollars in Bitlife for 2020 going into 2021? Well, pretty much if you're on Apple, I highly recommend the jewelry method. I'm shocked that they haven't caught on to this just yet. So basically, as you're going to continue to duplicate your money, you're going to have the opportunity to buy even more expensive jewelry as time goes on, which only quadruples your money in the long term. And now add that on with the real estate method, and basically long term, you can become a trillionaire, in my opinion, the quickest in this game. Now, coming in as number 2 as my highly most recommended method would be pretty much the casino method. Now, I will say the casino method does have a super huge upside, especially once you get into $10 million hands. Those games will become more consistent for you as you start to learn the patterns and the movements of the cards and pretty much the game itself. Now, do I recommend this method of trying to hit trillionaire status? Yes and or no. One, because this is kind of all we have on Android, if that is the case when you're trying to get billions of dollars. But unfortunately, since we have to take breaks in between, it makes it a lot harder for you to achieve billionaire status as fast as it once did. Now, my third top pick of maximizing your money in this game is becoming famous. One of the biggest benefits I see about doing this method is that there are so many different ways you can become famous. With the other methods, they're kind of straightforward, but you have to repeat them over and over and over again. With this one, you can have a little bit of fun with it, kind of personalize it to a specific goal. Another huge benefit is that you can actually tag team the casino method as well as the real estate method while doing this glitch. And also, don't forget that the famous method is in fact available on Apple and Android. Now, the last two methods, I can't really recommend these, but they do work, so do them at your own risk and have fun with them, I guess. That would be the horse race method and the lottery method. Now, it's really kind of hard which one to pick. If you want to look for consistency, I honestly would recommend the lottery method over the horse race method, because if you lose and are on Apple, you will in fact lose your money, and if you are on Android, you just continue to risk your game resetting. So if I could recommend one over the other, I would highly recommend doing the lottery method. This one does not require you to close your application and does not risk the chance of you resetting your game. Also, you never know, you just might get lucky enough to actually hit a super big hand, which will give you much more closer to that billionaire and or trillionaire status. So this is pretty much the end of the video, and I just want to say thank you once again for everyone who subscribed, everyone who has supported the channel up to this point. I appreciate you guys so much, you do not understand. And welcome everybody to the Phenom family who is in fact new to the channel. So if you haven't already, please go down below, let me know what was your favorite part, and while you're down there, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the little notification bell just so you get it notified every time I put a video like this, guys. I appreciate you, I seriously do, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.
There's a sparkle in your eyes. I feel the warmth of your skin. Just the touch of your hand.